Let me start the 44th session of Secrets of Spirituality. In the Bharatiya Tattva Shastra or in the Indian philosophy, there are 6 Darshana Shastras. They are called Shad Darshana. Darshana means the one which is seen, or Darshana means the process of seeing and understanding. So here basically Darshana means they have seen the universe with a different context. They have seen the universe or the truth in a direct way, so to say. So these are called Shad Shastra or Shad Darshana. Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Mimamsa and Vedanta. Sankhya by Kapila, Yoga by Patanjali, Nyaya by Gautama, Vaisheshika by Kanada, Mimamsa by Jaimini and Vedanta by Vyasa. Now in Sankhya and Yoga, typically they discuss about the individual existence. That means how life exists, how Jivatma exists, how an individual ego exists, and what are the causes for such existence, and what may be the truth behind such existence. That is where in Sankhya Shastra, the complete nature is described, or complete individual existence itself is described in terms of the 24 elements. And the Sankhya Shastra describes Purusha and Prakriti, the self and the nature, along with the description of 24 elements, 5 sense organs, 5 motor organs, and 5 elements, and 5 subtle senses, and then 4 inner faculties. That were totally 24. Yoga continues with the Sankhya Shastra's approach only, so as to gradually move the awareness from the individual existence to the universal existence, from the state of Jivatma to the state of Paramatma, or to enjoin Jivatma with the Paramatma. So Sankhya and Yoga, these are the 2 Shastras or 2 philosophical views which discuss mostly about the individual existence. Whereas Nyaya and Vaisheshika, they discuss more about the material existence, right from the particles, how different elements are there in the universe, and how these each elements can be categorized, and how by understanding the elements themselves the existence can be understood. So in the case of Nyaya and Vaisheshika, they do not discuss much about Jivatma or Paramatma as such, but they discuss the whole thing as an expression of the consciousness in a slightly different way. So each one is tried to be expressed in terms of its inherent qualities. That way, even the body is considered completely as a material existence. And the Nyaya and Vaisheshika do not discuss much about the universal existence also, do not discuss much about the individual existence also. But in a way, they give a hint for both. So Kanada has become quite famous because of his Vaisheshika Siddhanta, and whatever Kanada had told centuries before, that is being proved now in the domain of quantum physics. Coming to Mimamsa and Vedanta, they discuss more about the universal existence. which means how the universal existence is conscious, and because of its own conscious nature, and because of its own omnipresent existence, how gradually this universal existence itself gives rise to varied forms, living as well as non-living forms. Again, all these six, Sankhya and Yoga can be of one type, Nyaya and Vaisheshika can be of another type, Mimamsa and Vedanta can be of the third type. But all these six are basically discussing existence, existence, existence. It seems as if they are all discussing different types of existence, but everything is correlated, interrelated with each other. Out of which yoga became more famous than the other five, and Vedanta became more and more upper level approach than the other five. Why? Gradually yoga became a means of practice, and gradually the real meaning of yoga is also not fully expressed with the present generation. So they consider yoga as only a set of practices. It is not that way. The set of practices are prescribed only for the personal refinement, because Sankhya and Yoga both are discussing the individual existence. And Vedanta or the Brahma Sutra, in general, Upanishads are also called as Vedanta. And Brahma Sutra is also called as Sharirika Sutra, Vedanta Sutra. So here when we say Vedanta, it is basically with the Upanishads also, with the Brahma Sutra also, that way both are related. But Vyasa is attributed with the Brahma Sutra. So that way, why Vedanta became more and more high level scripture? The reason is Janmadhyasya yataha Shastra Yunitvat. That way it goes on for more than 550 aphorisms or sutras, in which there is an analysis of each and everything that is existing in the universe in a metaphysical way and in a direct way. At times, as when people study the Bhagavad Gita, when they move from the first chapter to second chapter, they get confused. When they move from second chapter to third chapter, they get confused, because each chapter deals with a subject in a different context as such. At times, whatever is told in the previous chapter and in the next chapter may seem contradictory also for the readers. So now the solution is, the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita was not to confuse the readers. Now the readers should not get confused. They should read all the 18 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita as such, and then they should read it once again. They should read it once again until the complete concepts are clearer to them. Same way, even in the Vedanta Sutra or in the Brahma Sutra, it is not easy for the normal intellects. For understanding the Brahma Sutra, it requires a high level intellect, refined intellect. That is where Vedanta is considered as the topmost out of all the six. And for the Vedanta Sutra or the Brahma Sutra only, Acharya has written commentaries, because the Vedanta is discussing, or the Sutra, Brahma Sutra itself is discussing about the universal existence. And especially in the Madhva philosophy or in the Dvaita philosophy, they study more about Nyaya and Vaisheshika as well. There is a very good book called Tarka Sangraha written by Annam Bhatta that summarizes the teachings of Nyaya Shastra as well as Vaisheshika Shastra. So that way I cannot say which one is superior than the other. All the six are equally important. They discuss existence in three different domains. Even though they themselves have minor differences among themselves in the approach of the subject or in the discussion of the subject. So, the way in which existence was understood by the Indian philosophers, or the way in which life is understood by the Indian philosophers, and whatever is the understanding that was recorded in the scriptures, is a great boon to the humankind. It is not just for the Indians, it is for the whole of the human beings on this earth to study all these six shastras or darshanas. Only then a complete understanding of life or existence is possible. Let me proceed to the next slide. Arambhavadaha Kanakshapakshah Sanghatavadaha tu Bhadantapakshah Sankhyaadipakshah tu Parinamavadaha Vedantapakshah tu Vivartavadaha. I am going to tell the meaning of this. Let me show you the next table. This is the table which corresponds to this particular verse. Arambhavadaha Kanakshapakshah. There are these four vadas, four arguments. Four arguments or four opinions we can say. Arambhavada by Kanakshapakshaha, Kanada and Akshapada. Gautama is also called as Akshapada. And Kanada is the proponent of Vaisheshika, and Akshapada or Gautama is the proponent of Nyaya. Now, Kanada and Akshapada together, that is the word Kanaksha here. They have an argument called Arambhavada or opinion called an Arambhavada. Arambha means beginning. Now, this particular opinion says that mud should be there in the beginning, then pot will happen. And because of the mud, pot is happening. And pot is an effect. Pot is not in the mud. Mud became a pot. Which means effect is not in the cause. Pot is an effect. Mud is a cause. Pot is not in the mud. Through mud, pot can be made. So, there must be something in the beginning, that something can be made into something else later on. In the universe, whatever is there in the beginning, that will become material, that will become life form, that will become many other things, living and non-living things in this universe. But this effect is not in the cause. In the sense, there is a consciousness which is actually producing an effect using the cause. This is their opinion or argument, we can say. Let us come to the second one, that is called Sanghatavada. Sanghatavada, Bhadanta Paksha. Bhadanta means Bauddha philosophy, to some extent even Jaina philosophy. Sanghata means attachment or conglomeration or combination. Arambha means beginning. Sanghata means combination. So, the Bhadanta Paksha or the Bauddha philosophy, so to say, including Jaina philosophy, that is more of Nyaya Shastra and Vaisheshika Shastra, but in a slightly different way. Here it is told that particle itself is becoming the body. Body is nothing but the combination of many particles. Just like a pot is nothing but the combination of many mud particles. Now in this case, they say there is no cause, only effect. Means particles are bound to combine together to become the body. That means there is no cause, only effect is there in the universe. There is an effect, and because of this effect only, cause is thought of. There is no cause, it is only a combination of all types of materials. The third one is Parinamavada. Parinama means, again, what is the happening later on? What is the ultimate result later on? This is Sankhya. In the Sankhya Shastra, it is simply Parinama, means milk is going to become a curd. If you leave the milk as it is, after some time, after a day or two, milk is going to become a curd. That means to become a curd, it was there already in the milk, without which milk cannot become a curd, which means effect is latent in the cause. Effect already was there in the cause. That is how effect was produced. This is contradictory to the Arambhavada, where it says effect is not in the cause. And there the example is given of mud and pot. Here the example is given as milk and curd. Now the last one is Vivartavada. Vivarta means simply transformation. Only a change. It's a transformation. Arambha means beginning. In the beginning there must be mud. Mud will become a pot. Sanghata means combination. Particles will combine, it will become a body. Parinama means result. Milk will result in a curd. Vivarta means transformation. And Vivarta is told by Vedanta. Vedanta says, actually, snake is not there. Rope is there. As there is darkness, as there is no light taken there, rope is mistaken as snake. Now, someone has to bring light there. When they bring light there, they will see that there was no snake at all, there was a rope. Without the light, when anybody sees, they'll mistake the rope to a snake and they'll keep on telling to others that there is a snake there. Actually, there is no snake, there is a rope, there was a need of light. If people remain without bringing a light there, they'll keep on getting confused that there is a snake and they will remain afraid, they will make others also afraid about the snake. There is no snake, there is a rope. So, principle is cause itself is effect. It is futile or waste to separate cause with effect. It is futile or waste to think about life different from divinity, divinity different from life. And people are afraid about death, thinking that death is a snake. Actually, death is not a snake, death is a rope. They have not understood death with the light of knowledge. Actually, there is no death at all. There is only a transformation. Life and death and birth are simply transformations. There is no death to the self at all. There is no death to the soul at all. Whatever is thought of as death is only the stoppage of the functionality of the living body, that's all. Now that itself is mistaken as snake because there is no light of knowledge. When there is no light, life itself is made afraid of, death itself is also made afraid of. Those who are ignorant of the self, they are afraid even during their life. They are afraid even at the time of death also. This is a vivarta. It is basically a transformation from one state to another state. Without actually understanding this, they are mistaking rope with the snake, and they remain afraid lifelong because of the ignorance. So this way you can see there are 4 arguments. Now there is no point in telling who is right and who is wrong. We need not start one more 5th argument or 5th opinion. We need not. Because on the outside it sees all these 4 arguments are competing with each other or contradicting with each other. But it is not so. There was an elephant and 4 blind people were continuously asking about how an elephant can be. They were asking, when they were told that elephant is the biggest animal on earth, they were telling, how can that biggest animal be there? Now these 4 blind people were brought to the elephant. They were asked to touch the elephant. One person touched the elephant at its trunk. One person touched the elephant at its leg. One more person touched the stomach. One more person touched the tail. Now these 4 blind people touched the elephant at 4 different places, and they developed their own opinions about the elephant. But the one who guided them to touch the elephant, he was having the eyesight. He was seeing the elephant as a whole, complete body. But the 4 blind people were building up their own opinion about the elephant, and then they were arguing with each other. Somebody who touched the elephant at the stomach, he said elephant is like a big boulder. Somebody who touched the elephant at the leg, he said elephant is like a big pole. Somebody who touched the elephant at the tail, he said the elephant is like a broomstick. Somebody who touched the elephant at the front, he touched its trunk, and he told elephant is like a curved plant. Now in this way, each one had their own opinion. Each one was right in his own way. But each one was contradicting the other's argument. That I am right, you are wrong. That should not be so. Each one is right in his own way, but he cannot argue that his opinion itself is right and others' opinion is wrong. That is where the problem is. Now here, these 4 arguments or opinions are not like those 4 blind people. Don't mistake me that I am telling about the 4 blind people story to just indicate these 4 arguments. Not so. It is the other way. These 4 arguments or opinions are not contradicting each other. It is like 4 people having eyes. They are touching the elephant at different parts and they are giving examples. Let us say instead of 4 blind people touching the elephant, 4 normal people touch the elephant with the full eyesight. Now they will say, the person who is touching the elephant at the trunk, he will say the elephant's trunk is like the curved plant. The person who is touching the leg, he will say the elephant's leg is like a big pole. Person who is touching the stomach of the elephant will say elephant's stomach is like a big boulder. And the person who is touching the tail will say the elephant's tail is like a broomstick. That way there need not be counter arguments. It is just because I understand the truth in my way, I cannot say that the other one who understands the truth is not truth. Whatever I understand, that is the only truth. Because truth is multidimensional. Life itself is multidimensional. Universe itself is multidimensional. That way these 4 theories are not contradicting each other, but the 4 theories are proposing their own point of view, and all are correct in only in their own way. Mud was there before and effect was the pot. Mud was the cause. That is also right. Particles combine to become the body and there is only effect because particles are invisible. only body is visible. So there need not be any cause, only an effect. Milk itself is going to become the curd, means all the properties to become a curd were already latent in the milk. Effect is latent in the cause. That is also true. And this universe is seen as if universe is birth, life and death, and it is pain and agony. That way, it need not be so. Pain and agony is caused mainly because of the ignorance. If there is the knowledge of light, knowledge of the self, and if light is brought there, it is understood that there was a rope lying there, it was not a snake there. Because of the absence of light, it was mistaken as a snake. In the same way, life is not pain. Pain is because of ignorance. Self has no death. Again, thinking about death itself is because of the ignorance. It is only a transformation of the self to become life. That way, cause itself is the effect there. Universe is simply a transformation. There is cause, there is effect together within each other. So, now we cannot say that Arambhavada is right and Sanghatavada is wrong. That is also right. Parinamavada is also right. Vivartavada is also right. All four are right. Now the choice is to take the essence of all four of them and to understand life squarely, completely, clearly. Otherwise, when the followers increase in number, they will have their own teams, they will have their own groups. Then they will develop arguments that only their argument is right, others' arguments are wrong. That is not that way. It is only a matter of perspective. So to say, all these four opinions are right in their own way, but our wisdom is that let us understand each of these opinions in much more depth and much more detail, especially the last column, the four principles. Let us understand them in much more detail in our own way. Let us take the essential wisdom combining all the four. That is actually the quality of a learner and the quality of an aspirant. Let me proceed. Let me come to a still more advanced analysis. In the Veda, there are these many words used, many times many words are used. Ritam Satyam Param Brahma Purusham Krishna Pingalam Urdhvaretam Virupaksham Vishwarupaya Vai Namo Namaha is told in the Shivopasana Mantraha in the Veda. Ritam Satyam Param Brahma Purusham Krishna Pingalam Urdhvaretam Virupaksham Vishwarupaya Vai Namo Namaha is told. The Veda keeps on telling these two words, Rita and Satya. What is Rita? What is Satya? Let us try to understand. Rita is the unperceived truth. Satya is the perceived truth. In a way, Rita is aprakatita, whereas Satya is prakatita. In the sense, Satya is the perceived existence. Rita is the unperceived existence. For example, whatever is seen, whatever is felt, whatever is experienced, that is prakatita, means manifested. Whatever is manifested is perceived and experienced. Now that is Satya. It is the perceived truth. But there is that unperceived existence. In the prakatita, there is aprakatita. Means in whatever is manifested, there is an unmanifested one. That unmanifested one is not actually perceived directly. For example, water is perceived. You see water, you drink water. You experience the drinking of water, you know water. That is Satya. But water is made up of hydrogen and oxygen molecules. That is not directly visible there. But that is the truth there. That is unperceived, but it is existing there. That is unmanifested. Aprakatita means unmanifested. Prakatita means manifested. Now both are eternal. Rita is also Nitya, Satya is also Nitya. In the sense, both are eternal. Water is also eternal. Hydrogen and oxygen are also eternal. Now universe is eternal. In the universe, planets are there, stars are there, satellites are there. They are also eternal in the sense. Now, the planets are prakatita. They are manifested, perceived. Stars are prakatita. They are manifested, perceived. But the one which caused the formation of stars and planets and satellites, that is unperceived. But that is there, no? Without which, how can planets be formed? How can stars be formed? How can satellites be formed? So, my Sanskrit teacher, Vidushi Veena Nagaraj, used to say, Rita is the aprakatita Satya and Satya is the prakatita Rita. Means, when Rita becomes manifested, that is Satya. The unmanifested form of Satya is Rita. In Kannada, she used to say, Ritavu aprakatitavada Satya. Satyavu prakatagondantaha Rita. Whatever is manifested from the Rita, that is Satya. Whatever was unmanifested before Satya, that was Rita. We cannot say before also again, because it is only a transformation. That is why Ritam Satyam Param Brahma Purusham Krishna Pingalam Urdhvaretam Virupaksham Vishwarupaya Vai Namo Namaha in the Veda. God is Rita also, God is Satya also. Whatever is unperceived, unmanifested, that is also God. Whatever is perceived and manifested, that is also God. Because God is omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient, divine, infinite consciousness. So that way, universe is basically Rita. Universe is infinite and universe is full. Universe cannot be empty. If it is empty, from an empty universe, how can stars, planets, satellites, elements be formed? How can life forms, non-living and living bodies can be formed if universe is empty? Universe is full, but that is unperceived, but it is existing. That is Rita. Now from this particular unperceived existence, part of it becomes manifested, part of it exists for the sensory organs. And when it is perceived, that is Satya. But both are eternal. Energy is also eternal, matter is also eternal that way. Matter may keep on getting transformed, but matter is eternal. Because energy is eternal. Energy itself is becoming matter that way. Now, whatever is opposite of Rita is Anrita. And whatever is opposite of Satya is Asatya. Means, whatever is opposite of Rita, whatever is the unperceived truth and the perceived falsity is Anrita. Because in Sanskrit, you know that when we add the prefix A, it becomes an opposite word. Rita, Anrita, Satya, Asatya. For the vowels, this An comes into picture. For the consonants, A comes into picture. So, Anrita is the opposite of Rita, which is perceived falsity, that is Apravartita. means uncreated. And Anrata is Nisthita, means non-existing. There is nothing called Anrata in this universe. Anrata is not at all there in this universe because whole universe is Rata. Whole universe itself is God. Whole universe itself is unperceived divine existence. When whole universe is Rata, there is nothing called Anrata. Anrata does not exist at all. So Anrata is the perceived falsity. It is not the perceived truth. Because it is uncreated, it is non-existing. That's all. What is Asatya? Asatya is the opposite of Satya. Asatya means unperceived falsity. Because Satya is the perceived truth. Asatya is the unperceived falsity. Why is it unperceived falsity? Because it is parivartaniya, changeable. It is transforming. And whatever is changeable is anitya. Anrata is not at all existing, but asatya is existing. But the existing one is perishable. It will change. A coconut tree will keep on yielding coconuts. And it is basically yielding coconuts, which is actually a transformation of materials only. And after a few years, even the coconut tree is going to perish. It is parivartaniya. It is changeable. That is asatya. It is unperceived falsity. Means what? Satya is the perceived truth, which is eternal, nitya. Asatya is the unperceived falsity, that is anitya or perishable. Which means Ruta and Satya exist always infinitely. They are timeless. Whereas Asatya is timed. Asatya is subjected to time. And again, time has multiple dimensions. Anrata does not exist at all. So there is no point in trying to realize something which is not existing at all. Lastly, coming to mithya. What is mithya? Imposed falsity. It is illusory. Bhramaka. It is anitya, perishable. If at all this is too heavy for you, let me tell you the famous sentence told by Adi Shankara. Brahma satyam jagan mithya jivo brahmaiva naparaha. Brahma satyam jagat mithya jivaha brahma eva na aparaha. Brahma satyam, God is perceived truth also. God is perceived existence also. Prakatita, whatever is manifested, that is also God. Life is God. Lifeless one is also God that way. Whatever that is manifested is God. And it is nitya, eternal. Brahma satyam, jagat mithya. Jagat mithya. Whatever you perceive as your existence in the world, that is mithya. It is imposed falsity. Why? That is illusory. My body, my life, that itself is illusory. There is no body like my body. Body is given a name. You remember yesterday's story when I told about Ramana and the professor. Body is the product of nature. There is nothing like my body and your body. We use that terminology as my body and your body only for the sake of our vyavahara, for our individuality, for our vyavaharika jivana, for our individual lifestyle. Otherwise, there is nothing called your body and my body. All bodies are product of nature. So, considering body as mine is one illusion. Now, attributing everything to the body as such, as my name, my gender, my property, my money, my assets, my position, and Getting stuck with all these things, that is all illusory, that is anitya, that is also perishable. Whatever is asatya is also perishable. Whatever is changeable, whatever is transforming, that is perishable. Whole nature is changeable and that is perishable. 1,000 years before, whatever there on this earth will not be there in the next 1,000 years, right? Except for some very old trees, everything else may change. Even the stones will change over a few millenniums. Whole thing is going to change that way in nature. So when everything is perishable, everything is changeable, that is asatya. Because what is satya? Satya is the manifested universe, that is nitya. Manifestation is eternal. But that manifested one is going to undergo transformation. That is perishable or anitya. Similarly, whatever we think as ours is also going to be perishable. It is all illusion. That is where Adi Shankara says, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya Jivaha Brahma Eva Na Aparaha. Life itself is God, no other thing is there. God is truth and this existence is illusion. Existence as my existence or your existence is illusion. So I have told two things now here. One is from the Veda. Pratam Satyam Param Brahma Purusham Krishna Pingalam Urdhvaretam Virupaksham Vishwarupaya Vai Namo Namaha. Second one from the Adi Shankara's Brahmajnanavali Mala. That is Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmaivana Aparaha. My dear listeners, if possible, study Samskrita. If possible, understand Samskrita books. If possible, use your free time in studying the great books, whatever I have been mentioning, which are in Samskrita also. You will understand about these terminologies in a much better way. Right now, when I am showing you all these terminologies, it may seem as if it is difficult for you to understand. But what is difficult is the learning attitude. Once you develop a learning attitude, all understandings become easy. Samskrita is made for the discussion of metaphysics as such. There are no such words as I am showing on this slide. There are no such words in other languages. It is very easy to discuss everything in Samskrita, whether it is manifested or unmanifested. Because Samskrita is such a highly refined language which is basically utilized for the discussion of metaphysics only. About God only, nothing else. So my intention in showing you this slide is, or these words is that you should appreciate the great Samskrita scriptures for their approach in discussing the existence itself as such. Let me tell you a small story. This is again an intuitive story which came out of me through His grace. One king had a guru. And this king one day asked the guru to advise him to practice some spiritual things or to study some spiritual scriptures. Now the guru told to the king that there is no other book to be read by you. That is not necessary. You can read only one particular book, that is enough. Now the king told, tell me something bigger. Why only one book? I have enough time. I can read a lot of things. King arrogantly told. But still the guru told, If you want to read, I can tell you to read Prasthanatraya, Shruti, Smruti and Sutra. But in the beginning, let me tell you only one thing. Read the Smruti. Smruti is the Bhagavad Gita. You read the Bhagavad Gita as such completely, that is enough. So this is what the Guru advised to the king. King said, all right, what is there in that? Reading one book is not great for me. I'll read it. And the king got a copy of Bhagavad Gita for himself in an intention to read. And Guru thought, or the spiritual master thought, the king will involve himself in reading the Bhagavad Gita. Almost a year over. After about a year, one day the king met the Guru once again and he told, even though I asked you to advise me to read something great, and even though you told me to read the Bhagavad Gita, even though I got that book, my time is lost in the maintenance of the kingdom itself. I remain busy always. So I don't find time to read the whole of the Bhagavad Gita. It is really having 18 chapters which are difficult for me to read. You simplify my task somehow. I want to have my spiritual pursuit, so simplify my task somehow. Okay, then the Guru told, okay, let me simplify the task for you. Instead of reading the complete Bhagavad Gita, read only the 3rd chapter. That is enough. And the king agreed. King said, okay, fine. I'll read only the 3rd chapter. And he went back. Again, almost a year over. After about a year, again the king came back to the spiritual master or the Guru. And he told, I'm coming you second time for the same reason. You told me to read the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, but because of my busy schedule, I am not finding time to read the whole chapter. That chapter contains so many verses. Now you simplify my task and you tell me any one particular verse which I can read and understand. Okay, then the Guru told, fine. In the 3rd chapter, there is one verse called Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturbu ma te samgostu karmani. That one particular verse you completely understand. You keep on studying more about that one particular verse. That is enough. And the king said, okay, fine. Only one verse? No. I can study and then I can understand. And he went back. But the king, even though he went through that particular verse, he could not understand the essence or the teaching of that particular verse. Meanwhile, what happened? Enemies attacked the kingdom, and this king went to have a battle with the enemies, and in that battle, the king died. After the king died, the king's son became the next king. The prince became the king, and the prince was taking care of the kingdom, and he conquered those enemies gradually. Now the king had come to the spiritual master. Initially, the Guru advised him to read the Bhagavad Gita. Later on, he advised him to read the 3rd chapter. Later on, he advised him to go through only one particular shloka or verse in the 3rd chapter. The king died in the war. Now his son, he knew that his father was going to this particular Guru for some advices. Now the son also, after some time, went to the Guru and told him, I had known that my father used to come to you for some spiritual advices. Now as he is not there, I am also coming to you. Please advise me something so that I can also develop the spiritual attitude as such, or I can enhance myself with the spiritual learning. Now the spiritual master told him, okay, with your father I had a different approach. Now let me have a reverse approach with you. Let me tell you to read one particular verse. in the third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And the young prince or the young king said, one verse, fine. One verse, fine. And he went back. The Guru had told him to read that particular one verse, Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phalechu kadhachana, ma karma phalaheturbhu mate sangosto karmani. And the young king went back. After about a week, the young king came back. And the young king told to the spiritual master, you are actually humiliating me, or you are actually insulting me. I am highly capable, but you are telling me to read only one verse. That has upset me. I did not open the book also. I did not read that shloka also, because I did not feel like reading one verse. My capacity is much larger, and actually you are giving me a very small task. Now the spiritual master told, I had told your father also in some other way, and he said he is capable of reading many good things. I had told him about Prasthanatraya. Still, because I knew that Prasthanatraya is much bigger task, I had told him to read the whole of the Bhagavad Gita. He could not do it. Now you are telling that I am insulting you by giving you one verse. Okay, let me relax now. I'll ask you to read the third chapter. Read the third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita and then come back to me. This young king went back again. After about a week, he came back to the spiritual master once again, saying, again you are insulting me. Earlier you gave me one verse. Now you are telling me only to read one chapter, whereas I have the much bigger ability to digest many things. You tell me to read the Prasthanatraya also. I will read and digest. But you are telling me to read one chapter. Again, I did not open the book at all, because you are actually demeaning me. Okay, then the Guru told, okay, fine. If your ego is hurt that way, now you read the complete Bhagavad Gita. Because your father did not do whatever I told him to do, I tried the reverse formula with you. Now, if you think I am humiliating you, you can go back and you try to read the Bhagavad Gita. The boy said, okay. The young king, I can't say boy, young man, he went back. But he did not open the Bhagavad Gita, he did not read it. He was thinking of reading it, maybe tomorrow, maybe tomorrow, maybe tomorrow. And he went on that way. He did not open the book also. His father kept on saying that because of his busy schedule, he did not find time. Now this young king, even when he had time also, he was busy with some of his other lavish tasks. He was showing off as a king always. And he also did not open the Bhagavad Gita, he did not read at all. After some time, again those enemies attacked the kingdom, and this young king also died in that battle. Now the queen had a young son, very young son. And the queen had to wait until the young son becomes older so as to manage the kingdom. The queen had faithful ministers. Along with the faithful ministers, the queen started managing the whole kingdom now. And the queen gradually made her army stronger, and she secured the borders so that there should not be any more enemy attacks. Because her husband was also careless, her elder son was also careless. Both had lost their lives in the battle. So gradually, because she was wise enough to make the border secure, there were no enemy attacks and the kingdom was secure. Now this queen went to the same Guru. She had known that her husband also had gone there, her son also had gone there. Now she went to meet the spiritual master, and she seek the advice of the spiritual master. She told, even I am also eager to have my spiritual upliftment. You had advised my husband also, you had advised my elder son also. Until my younger son is attaining his adulthood, I am managing the kingdom in my own way with the help of my ministers. But at the same time, I want to seek advice from you in the spiritual matters also. Now the Guru told that your husband also had come, he also did not fulfill the task. Your elder son also had come, he also did not fulfill the task. Both were arrogant in their own way. Your husband was aged to some extent, and he used to say, I don't have energy for that, so I simplified the task. Your elder son was arrogant, he had enough energy that way. So I actually, even though initially I told the simple task, later on I told him a bigger task. But because of his arrogance only, he also did not fulfill the task. Now what is the point you are coming to me again? You also may not be able to fulfill the task because you will also be busy with your political affairs. Now the queen told, respected Guru, for my political task I have my ministers and my army commanders. They will manage the job. I need not spend all my time in the political affairs. I will find free time for my spiritual progress. I request you to please advise me. Okay, then the Guru told, with your husband, the approach I used was initially the full Bhagavad Gita, then the third chapter, then one verse in the third chapter. With your son, I reversed the formula where it was initially one verse in the third chapter, then the third chapter itself, then the complete book itself. Now with you, I'll go for the middle approach. You only read the third chapter. That is enough. Now the queen agreed. She went back and she kept on studying the third chapter. She read it once. Afterwards, she read it once again. She read it once again. For about a year, she kept on reading and understanding only the third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. After about a year, she found that her mind is at peace. Her mind is tranquil. And she found her physical health is improved. Her mental health is stable. And she was having an equanimity or a mental balance. In whatever she was doing, she was having an approach of equanimity and one type of unselfishness. After about a year, she went back to the spiritual master. She prostrated in front of him and she thanked him that this 1 year of study of the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita has helped her a lot in developing an equanimity of the mind and one special mental peace is there with her. And the spiritual master told that is the effect of reading the third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. That is called Karma Yoga. The first chapter of Bhagavad Gita is Arjuna Vishada Yoga. The second chapter of Bhagavad Gita is Sankhya Yoga. The third chapter of Bhagavad Gita is Karma Yoga. Now the queen asked the Guru, even my husband would have done the task done by you, task told by you. Even he would have read the complete Bhagavad Gita 18 chapters also, but he could not digest one shloka also. Even my elder son could have at least digested one shloka or that one chapter or the complete Bhagavad Gita. Both had the ability and the capability. Still they did not do it and they still did not attain this peace of mind which I have attained. Now what is the reason that just by reading that particular chapter I have attained the peace of mind and why they could not do? I want an answer from you. Now Guru told, your husband was busy with his own political affairs. Your elder son was busy with his own political affairs in his own way. Both were busy and both were having a bigger priority than having a peace of mind. You made your border secure and you don't have any enemy attacks. But they were busy in their own political affairs. They did not make the borders also secure and they had continuous attacks from the enemies. Now, unless they are physically stable, how they can be mentally stable? They were having their own excuses about not to study what I am telling them to study. And even though they were behaving as if they are going to study, internally they were denying their own studying approach itself because they were using their time for something else always. Now in your case, you already have your ministers and commanders who are taking care of your kingdom. Already you have some physical stability. And when you read this third chapter, that goes into you as a greater wisdom, and you already know that the kingdom does not belong to you. Your younger son is gradually going to grow up and one day he is going to handle all these political affairs. So as such, you already have a renounced mindset because you know that you are not going to completely rule the kingdom. But that was not the psychology with your husband and with your elder son. Your husband was thinking that lifelong he'll be ruling the kingdom. And afterwards, when your elder son became a king, he was also thinking that lifelong he's going to rule the kingdom. So that way, they had a bigger attachment towards their own position and power. They were not actually trying to understand the spiritual facet of life. Still, they used to come to me only to show off that they want to have some spiritual touch also. But that is not going to work that way. In your case, you already had a renounced life because you know that you are not going to be permanently ruling the kingdom. You are waiting for your younger son to become adult. Later on, you are going to pass over this power to him only. Until then, you are going to manage with your own faithful administration. So that is how, as your mindset is already connected to the teachings of the third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, now you are having the declining of mind. And the lady finally asked the Guru, why you did not tell me about the single verse or about the complete book? Why you told me only the third chapter itself? Then the Guru told, I was just experimenting. I experimented one way with the king. I experimented one way with the next son of the king. Now I am experimenting the third way with the wife of the king. This is my way of experimentation. Now if you really want to learn, now you can learn the complete Bhagavad Gita also. Or if you really want to learn, you can keep on learning and relearning about the meaning of the one particular shloka in the same third chapter. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturbu mate sangostu karmani. That one shloka is also enough. If you want to learn more, you can read the third chapter fully again. Now if you want to read some more, you can read the complete Bhagavad Gita. If you want to keep on reading lifelong, you can go through the Prasthanatraya, Shruti, Smriti, Sutra. That way you can utilize your time for your spiritual progress. My dear listeners, all of us have time. How do we use the time is up to us. How do we really want to have a spiritual progress? That is also our choice. Let me proceed to the next slide. Now to continue with the same terminologies with some more depth. Ruta is not experienced and it is understood. See, Ruta is not experienced and it is understood. Example is space. Space cannot be experienced, but space can be understood by means of a sheer logic. How? In space only everything else is floating now, right? In space only everything else is moving now, right? Moon is moving around Earth, Earth is moving around Sun, Sun is moving with the Milky Way galaxy, galaxy itself is moving from one corner to the other corner in the universe. We don't know where is that corner also, because universe is infinite. So space can be understood, but space cannot be experienced. Now that is called as Ruta. Opposite of Ruta is Anruta. Means what? Not experienced, not understood. Such thing does not exist at all. You are not understanding, you are not experiencing. Such thing does not exist at all. That is void. Void does not exist at all. Space exists. Void does not exist anywhere. Now you can understand God. You will not experience God. Actually, God is experiencing you. As I had showed you earlier in one slide, you are the soul and you have a body. That's all. Soul is experiencing the body. It is not that body can experience the soul. It is the water which is experiencing the fish. It is not that fish will experience water. Fish can only try to understand water and realize water. Fish cannot experience water because fish is inside water. Same way, Ruta is understood and not experienced, but Anruta is not understood, not experienced. Such thing does not exist at all. This I had told you in the previous slide also. So void does not exist. Space exists. Now what is Maya? Maya is a new term here compared to the previous slide. But you are already familiar with Maya. Maya is not experienced and it is misunderstood. Maya is not experienced. It is misunderstood. For example, life itself. Actually, life is not experienced. Life is misunderstood. Now you may say, are we not experiencing life? No, you are not experiencing life. You are experiencing body. You are experiencing with your 5 sense organs. That's all. Now 5 sense organs are not life, no? Are you experiencing your own red blood cells movement right now? Are you experiencing your own blood's rushing or blood's movement in the body right now? Are you experiencing that right now kidney is taking away water from your body and it is moving through tubes into the bladder? Are you experiencing that the bladder is gradually being filled with water? No. Only when you have a 3/4 filled bladder, that is when the brain gives a signal that you need an urge of urination. You will feel an urge of urination, then you'll go to the bathroom and you'll urinate. Now you cannot say that you are experiencing life. Only through the sense organs you are sensing your body, that's all. So Maya is a misunderstanding of life. Whichever is not experienced, that is misunderstood. Life is not actually experienced. It is misunderstood. As if life is yours, life is mine. What is Satya? Satya is experienced and understood because Satya is manifested, right? Satya is experienced and Satya is understood. For example, time. Time is experienced. Day and night are passing away. That is experienced and that is understood. Asatya is what? Asatya is opposite of Satya. Experienced and not understood. See, Ruta is not experienced. Satya is experienced. Now, Anruta is not understood. Asatya is also not understood. For example, mind. Mind is experienced. Mind is not understood. So many thoughts happen on a daily basis. So many decisions happen on a daily basis. Sometimes dilemma also happens. And sometimes all types of feeling arise. Many times emotions, feelings, thoughts. All these are experienced. But mind is not understood. If mind has to be understood, mind has to be stilled. Dhyanam nirvishayam manaha. So asatya is the one that is experienced and not understood. Finally, what is mithya? Mithya is experienced and misunderstood. Maya is not experienced and misunderstood. Life is misunderstood as my life and your life. There is nothing called my life and your life. Now, mithya is experienced and misunderstood again, like body. Body is experienced, but body is misunderstood as my body and your body. There is nothing like my body and your body. All bodies are product of nature, that's all. There is nothing called my body and your body. Now you can see these terminologies. All these 6 terms are high level metaphysical or philosophical terms only. That is the beauty of Samskrita. That is the beauty of Bharatiya Tattva Shastra. Let me continue. You can see this slide. There's a level, there's a log, there's an emotion, there's a life view. I did not prepare this slide. I took from somewhere. You can see there's a log here, right from shame till enlightenment. And there's emotion here. And there's a life view here. Now, at the bottom there is shame. At the top there is enlightenment. And from red till violet, there are colors here. It's beautifully made. Now this slide has got 2 halves, upper half and lower half. In the upper half you can see courage, neutrality, willingness, acceptance, reason, love, joy, peace, enlightenment. And it has a log scale now, right from 200, 250, 310, 350, 400, 500, 540, 600, 700, 1000. And the emotion in the case of courage is affirmation. That of neutrality is trust. That of willingness is optimism. That of acceptance is forgiveness. That of reason is understanding. That of love is reverence. That of joy is serenity. That of peace is bliss. And that of enlightenment is ineffable. Now the life view, when you have a courage, is feasibility. When you have neutrality, it is satisfaction. When you have willingness, it is hope. When you have acceptance, it is harmony. Whenever reason, there is meaningfulness. Whenever love is there, it is benign. Whenever joy is there, it is complete. Whenever peace is there, it is perfect. Whenever enlightenment is there, it simply is. Tat Tvam Asi. This is the upper half. Coming to the lower half. Let us go down now. Pride, log scale is 175. Anger, 150. Desire, 125. Fear, 100. Grief, 75. Apathy, 50. Guilt, 30. Shame, 20. Now the emotion with the pride is scorn. Emotion with anger is hate. hatred. Emotion with desire is craving. Emotion with fear is anxiety. Emotion with grief is regretting. Emotion with apathy is despair. Emotion with guilt is blame. Emotion with shame is humiliation. The life view with the pride is demanding. Life view with anger is antagonistic. Life view with desire is disappointment. Life view with fear is frightening. With grief, it is tragedy. With apathy, it is hopelessness. With guilt, it is evil. And with shame, it is miserable. You know what I am going to tell you now, right? You know, 6 enemies, 8 arrogances. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsara. Shadripus. And Dhanavada, Vidyamada, Kulamada, Rupamada, Yauvanamada, Balamada, Parivaramada, Adhikaramada. Ashtamada. What does this arrow mark mean? The 6 enemies and the 8 arrogances are going to pull you down. There is this force of Maya and Mithya. I had shown you in the previous slide about the meaning of Maya and Mithya, because of which there is a misunderstanding. Because of the misunderstanding of life, that is the force which is pulling you down towards pride, anger, desire, fear, grief, apathy, guilt, and shame. Ultimately, life is becoming miserable because of this misunderstood force. Now, what about the upper half? Upper half is the power. In the upper half, you have courage, neutrality, willingness, acceptance, reason, love, joy, peace, enlightenment. And life is becoming as it is planned by the divine. That is where the power is. Now, because of misunderstanding that there is a snake, because of not understanding that there is a rope, because of not putting an effort to bring the light, there is a continuous misunderstanding, that is Maya and Mithya. And due to which the downfall is also because of this misunderstanding. Upliftment is because of the correct understanding. Satya and Ruta. Choice is yours. As always, choice is yours. Ten things highly intuitive people do differently. They listen to that inner voice. Anyone and everyone has got this inner voice, whether they are educated or uneducated, whether they are poor or rich, whether they are rural or urban, whether they are spiritual or material. Everybody has got this inner voice. That is called Antasakshi, Atmasakshi. Even animals have this inner voice. Even animals know what is right, what is wrong. But many times, pride takes over, arrogance takes over in continuing to justify whatever people are doing. That is where memory is corrupted. Memory became toxified. Memory needs to be detoxified. So everyone has this inner voice. What is right, what is wrong need not be told by the Manusmriti or by the Dharma Shastra. Need not be. For a common sense, everyone knows that causing pain to anybody is wrong. And that need not be told by any great spiritual master also, or by a religious saint also. It need not be told by Bible or Quran or by Gita. Right? That is common sense. You can see when two puppies are playing with each other, many times both the puppies will be lightly biting the other's body. When they lightly bite the other's body, it is their way of playing with each other. But each puppy knows that if it is biting harder into the other puppy's body, there is going to be a wound, there is going to be a pain. Both of them know. Which means what? Even animals have this inner voice. They know that what is harmful, what is playful. So everybody has this inner voice. Only thing is the normal people will ignore the inner voice because they give more prominence to the outer voice. People give more prominence to whatever they speak, whatever others speak. Keep on passing opinions and keep on judging. And that is when they lose out in the spiritual domain. They lose out with their own physical and mental health. So 10 things highly intuitive people do differently. First thing is they listen to that inner voice. Again, I did not prepare this slide. I have taken it from elsewhere. I don't know who is the author of these sentences, but somebody has ingeniously written these things. First thing is, highly intuitive people listen to that inner voice. Second thing is, they take time for solitude. Only when you remain alone, you try to understand yourself. As long as you are with somebody else, it is always conversations and opinions and judgments. Because each person wants to put his opinion or her opinion into someone else's head. Everyone thinks that they are right in their own way. And whatever they feel is right, they want it to be endorsed by someone else also. So whenever 2 or 3 people are there, it is always more and more conversations, more and more opinions, more and more judgments. That is where again memory is being corrupted. But you should have a company. Company of who? Company of those who can refine the memory. Not the company of those who can toxify the memory. Otherwise, it is better to be alone. So the highly intuitive people, they take time for solitude. Only when you are alone, you are understanding yourself better. When you are with others, you will not find time to understand yourself better because you will be spending your time in trying to understand others only. Whenever there are 2 or 3 or 4 people together talking, they'll keep on talking about someone else who is not there in that particular team. And all the 3 or 4 are trying to understand the 5th one or the 6th one or the 7th one that way. When they will understand themselves. If you have to understand yourself, you will have to take time for solitude. You will have to be happy to be alone. Many times people don't want to be alone. They think that loneliness itself is problem. They think loneliness is boredom. No, wrong. If people think loneliness is boredom, then for removing the loneliness, they do something else. That is basically for passing the time. There's a difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness means you being upset that you are alone. Solitude means you being happy that you are alone. There's a great difference between the two. Coming to the third point, the highly intuitive people create knowledge. Wisdom is always a collective intelligence. And what is creation of knowledge? Already Ruta is there. Ruta knows everything. Unmanifested information gets manifested, that becomes knowledge. They say that Veda came from the mouth of God. That is a metaphor. All of us know that Veda is written on palm leaf scriptures. Now it is printed in the books. It is a written form only. But for writing, it came from where? It came in the thought force of the saint. Now to the thought force of the saint, it came from where? We should say it came from within, from the self. That is when they say Veda came from the mouth of God. It is a metaphor. In turn, we should say the saints created knowledge. All saints are intuitive. The fourth point is they practice mindfulness. Many of the others practice mindlessness. Mindlessness in the sense, without actually going through a logic, without actually experiencing life fully, simply passing opinions, judgments, more and more conversations, more and more conflicts. That is mindlessness. Mindfulness means whatever you do, involve yourself 100%. Let us say you are tasting a small sweet meat. Let us say you are tasting a jalebi. When you are tasting a jalebi, completely involve yourself in tasting the jalebi. Many times people buy expensive sweets from the sweet shops, but they swallow as if they have not been eaten anything for the last 3 days. I have seen sometimes some people, when I offer some sweets, they'll put it to the mouth, they will immediately chew, they will immediately swallow. Then I tell them, why don't you take some time to keep it in your mouth and enjoy the sweetness of that particular item? Why are you in a hurry to swallow so faster? Now they are in a hurry to do everything so fast. What is the point in doing so fast everything as such? Why don't we practice mindfulness? Whatever we do, why don't we completely involve ourselves 100% in that? People say we are into multitasking. Wrong. You cannot do multitasking. You are actually multiple tasking. In the sense, many tasks you are doing half, chop, 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 chop. Will you do anything fully, completely? For that, it requires your 100% dedication for the completion of the task. So mindfulness is basically, even if you have to eat a sweet, completely relish the sweet. Don't be in a hurry in swallowing your food. When you are swallowing a food, when you are consuming a food, enjoy the taste of the food. Even if you are listening to this session right now, don't be in a hurry that when 9 o'clock is going to happen, when are you going to exit from the meeting? You may be thinking, I'm telling all boring things. Long, 44 sessions are over. Only one more session is there tomorrow. Highly boring 45 sessions. Then I should say, you are actually practicing mindlessness. You should not have come in the first place to the 44th session also. You should have left these sessions long back. I should appreciate you that you have been mindful till now in attending at least the 44th session. I would further appreciate if you attend the tomorrow's last session also. Dedicate yourself in understanding all these things. In whatever you do, involve yourself completely. That is mindfulness. Now the fifth thing, they observe everything. For the intuitive people, their sense organs are sharp. Their eyes are sharp, their ears are sharp, their skin is also sharp. They just observe everything, just by observation they learn. There is no need of any other learning. Observation is enough. You observe a flower, you will understand the divinity within the flower. Remember the incident which I told you about Mukundur Swami. Now, if you observe that Mukundur Swami is talking to the flowering plants, you should understand that he is a great person that way. He is seeing the Jagannatha, the Divine Mother, in the plant itself. He is seeing the divinity in the plant itself. So that observation is enough. Next point, they listen to their bodies. I had shown you a slide where I had shown you the God-given immunity check. Naga, Kurma, Krikala, Devadatta, Dhananjaya. And I had given a small homework at that time to find out about the meaning of Krikala. Nobody told me the meaning even in the chat box. Krikala is one particular type of bird. In Kannada, it is called Tittibha. Naga is the snake, Kurma is the tortoise, Krikala is the bird called Tittibha. And Devadatta Dhananjaya I have already told earlier. So that Upaprana, Pancha Upaprana, they are the God-given immunity check. Now if you listen to your bodies, you will know that body is telling you what is wrong. Now, if you understand, you can correct the situation. So intuitive people listen to their bodies. They connect deeply with the others because Aham Brahmasmi Tat Tvam Asi. The same life is in this body, the same life is in the other body. That way they connect deeply with the others. All saints and sages and rishis are highly compassionate with all other living organisms. Especially the Jains, when they walk, they deeply observe the path on which they are walking. Even if an ant is there on the path, they will carefully place their feet away from the ant because they know the same life is there in the ant also. That way, intuitive people deeply connect with others. Now, they pay attention to their dreams. I have told you about the dreams, DREAM, delving into the reality of ego and memory. Dreams are basically creative. Dreams are basically of natural ego. Dreams are basically for evolution. That is when the problems of the awakened state should not fully pollute the dreams of the daily life. Then the memory again gets filled with the problems of the daily life. Otherwise, dreams can give solutions to the problems of daily life if approached in that way. Nature is capable of solving any problem in its own way. Jagannmata, Adishakti, Parashakti is capable of solving any problem for that matter. But she is available to you in your dream. So the intuitive people pay attention to their dreams. And the intuitive people enjoy plenty of downtime. Whenever normal people have free time, they think that they have to do something now. Whenever they have a free time, they don't want to have a free time. They always want to be occupied and busy. Wrong. When you have a free time, become like a Diogenes. Go to a stream of water, put your feet into the stream of water and enjoy the sunrise. They enjoy plenty of downtime. Find your own time to relax yourself in the midst of nature. Lastly, intuitive people mindfully let go of negative emotions. Anything that is harmful to the health of the mind, anything that is harmful to the memory, that should not be there, stored in the memory. Memory should be cleansed on a daily basis. Whatever is going to be harmful, that should not be kept in the memory at all. So they mindfully let go of negative emotions. In this way, these are the 10 things which highly intuitive people do differently. Why they do differently? Because the normal people will not do it. Actually, the normal people are going to do the opposite of all these 10 things. So I hope that let me also become more intuitive. I hope that my listeners also become more intuitive. With this message, let me end today's session. See you tomorrow. Tomorrow I will be concluding this presentation. So, see you tomorrow. Until then, take care and goodbye.